In one of his videos, Simon Sinek makes the point that trust is more important than performance. I agree with a lot of what he says, but not with that statement. In this episode, I will give you 2 reasons why I so strongly disagree with this statement, but also, given that trust is relative, how do you balance these two? Welcome to The Trust Show. I'm Yoram Solomon, your host, the author of the Book of Trust, and facilitator of the Trust Habits Workshop. My mission is simple. I want to help you form habits that build your trustworthiness, because the answer to this question will have the biggest impact on your personal and professional success or failure. Can I trust you? In that video, he says that he talked to a SEAL team and they drew this chart for him, putting performance on one side and trust on the other side. And they defined performance as performance on the battlefield, and trust is kind of performance off the battlefield. And, I agree with him that we all want that person that we never, nobody wants that person that is low trust, low performance, and everybody wants that person that is high trust, high performance. Where we disagree, and this is the statement that he says they would rather have a medium performer of high trust, sometimes even a low performer of high trust. This is a direct quote. This is where I disagree with him. If you like this video, click the like button, subscribe to this channel, and get notified when I release more videos like this. I don't know what SEAL team he interviewed, and I'm not challenging that this interview took place. I interviewed a SEAL team member for the Book of Trust. I served on the Israeli Defense Forces 35th Airborne. And I have to wonder, is performance not important or not as important as things that I do off the battlefield? Let's say that you are a member of a small SEAL team or any other special forces team, and that I am the sniper. So I'm away from you, and I'm responsible for taking out anyone who tries to harm you or kill you. And typically you are in an environment where there are people who want to kill you. How important is it to you that if I see someone like that, I can take them out with my first shot? Is it okay if I take the second shot or third shot, which, by the way, makes them aware to the fact that you're there and so puts you in higher risk? Is my performance as a sniper not that important to you because of my performance off the battlefield? Or as Simon Sinek says, you can trust me with your money and your wife. I don't know. I think that you pretty much need me to be able to take out that target that threatens you with the first shot. Let me take it to another side. How about a pilot? You can trust me with your money and with your wife. You can trust me with a lot of things outside of the cockpit. It's just that when I get on that cockpit, I'm not that good. My performance is not that great. I crash one of 100 landings. Okay, just one. 99 out of 100 landings, 99%, I land perfectly. It's just that 1 in 100 flights or landings that I crash. Is that not important enough, considering the fact that I'm really trustworthy outside of the cockpit? Before you answer that, you may want to read the NTSB report, the National Transportation Safety Board report, for Continental Flight 1713 in 1987. That crash that killed 25 passengers, both pilots and another crew member. This is the NTSB report. They claim that this was because of the lack of proficiency of the first officer, the co-pilot, who was flying the plane. And I'm not going to get into the details. I am a pilot. I did read the entire NTSB report. So I'm quoting the NTSB report. So how important is it to you that my performance in the cockpit are good enough, that I'm not going to crash, that I'm going to land 100 out of 100 flights that you're on. Third example, surgeon. How important is it to you that you can trust me outside of my operating room? You can trust me when you lend me $1 million, not $20, not $1,000, $1 million. When you lend that to me, that I will return it back. You can trust me with that. You can trust me with your money. Just I have a relatively high patient mortality rate in my operating room. So I'm kind of a medium performer, maybe even medium high performer. Or do you absolutely need me to be high performer? So I'm sorry, I disagree. These two things, they don't balance. You are not going to be satisfied with low performing sniper, SEAL team member, pilot, surgeon, and I can think of a lot of other roles. But the second reason that I disagree with that statement is because I don't consider performance, which to me is part of competence, as separate from trust and trustworthiness. I have a model, my relative trust model. That model has 6 components grouped in 2. There is the who you are, and that's made of competence, personality, compatibility, and symmetry. And there's what you do. That's the positivity, time, and intimacy. Let's put aside the what you do because that's already during an interaction. Before the interaction, before you go on the battlefield with me, before you get into the cabin when I'm in the cockpit, before you get into my operating room, there is the who I am, okay, or who you are. And that's made of competence, personality, compatibility, and symmetry. Symmetry is kind of situational. There's not a lot of symmetry when I'm the pilot and you're the passenger. There's not a lot of symmetry when I'm the surgeon and you're the patient. Put that aside. Personality compatibility is, one part of it is how much do I care about you, and that definitely is important. But competence is actually part of it. And I know that many models look at those components and maybe under different names and under different combinations and different categorizations, but they look at them as cumulative. Okay, so let's say that I rank 100% on personality compatibility, 100% on symmetry, just I'm a 0 at performance, or not even a 0, 50 on performance. So we add them all up and then we average them. And you know what? If I'm 100 here and 100 here and let's say 40 here, divided by 3, I'm an 80. 80 is pretty good, right? Except I'm 40 on competence. And that's not good enough. So my model, I don't look at trust, at those 3 components as being cumulative or trying to figure out the average of them. I look at the product of the 3. So I multiply them. Competence times personality compatibility times symmetry. And so if you're 0 on any of them or have a very low score, it is going to drag everything down. There is only one problem, and that is if you're 100% on all 3 of them, 100% times 100% times 100%, you're at 100. If you're 0 on all 3 of them, you're a 0. Or on any of them, you're a 0. The problem is that if you're halfway, if you're 50% on each one of them, multiplying 50% by 50% by 50% or half by half by half is actually going to give you 1/8, 12.5%. And that is misleading. So what I did was I actually added one more element to it, and that is I use the cubic root of this product. Because if you use the cubic root of multiplying half, 50%, 3 times, you would actually get 50%. So first, those are not separate. Competence is part of trustworthiness, just like personality compatibility, which is essentially what Simon Sinek referred to as when we talked about the off the battlefield or outside of the cockpit or outside of the operating room. That's part of it. How much you care about me, how much you tell me the truth, and so on. Those are things that are true off the battlefield and on the battlefield. The competence is still part of it. And I may not care about the competence in certain things. I do in other things. But I'll talk about that in the next segment. So this brings one more consideration, and that is that trust is relative. The first 3 laws of trust, you can argue that all 8 laws of trust that I observed really reflect on the fact that trust is relative. Let's touch the first one. Trust is continuous. We can't talk about being trustworthy or not. I trust you or I don't trust you. It's really a matter of how much. But the second law is more important. Trust is contextual. And so you're looking at a person and you say that I can trust them off the battlefield. Can I trust them on the battlefield? Those are 2 separate things. A person might be dramatically trustworthy off the battlefield in other things than being a sniper or being a pilot or being a surgeon, but on the battlefield, in the cockpit, in the operating room, not so much. That's law number 2. Trust is contextual. So you care about the context in which you're going to trust or decide whether you can trust somebody or whether they're trustworthy or not. So it really doesn't matter whether you can trust me with $20 or $100 or $1,000 or $1 million off the battlefield. What matters is that specific context. And finally, trust is personal. That's my third law of trust. Trust is personal, which means that you will not be trusted the same way by 2 different people. In fact, sometimes that specific characteristic or quality that you have that would make you trusted, highly trusted by one person, may cause you to be distrusted by another person, because trust is personal. And all 3 of those, trust is continuous, contextual, and personal, really add up to the fact that trust is relative. And that's the third consideration. This is the shorter video version of the Trust Show podcast. You can listen to the full episode anywhere you listen to your favorite podcasts.